Good evening and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Eugene Chan. Joining us this evening to discuss the topic, Can Music Education Shape Hong Kong Youth?, are two guests with incredible talent and experience in the field of music. First, we have the Music and Creative Arts Director at St. Paul's Co-Educational College and Primary School, Mr. Warren Lee. Mr. Lee is a celebrated concert pianist, composer, and educator. Warren has been a Steinway artist and made his televised debut with the Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra at the age of 6 and has since performed on 5 continents, earning accolades such as the first prize at the Stravinsky Awards International Piano Competition. Our second guest is conductor of the SPCC Senior Mixed Voice Choir, Mr. Apollo Wong. Mr. Wong himself is an opera singer and is currently the chorus master of the Hong Kong Philharmonic Chorus, as well as the music director of the Learners' Chorus. Both Warren and Apollo have been instrumental in nurturing our young music talent in Hong Kong. Welcome, Warren and Apollo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you are both at the recent 13th World Choir Games in Auckland, where the St. Paul Senior Mixed Voice Choir that you conduct, Apollo, won the first place in the secondary school choir section. Congratulations to both of you. And that was the reason why we have this interview, especially when I saw a video at the prize presentation ceremony where your students proudly ran forward with the school flag, the Hong Kong SAR flag, and our national flag to receive the award. This is a truly heartwarming and inspiring moment. So, Apollo, what was the moment like for you? What did it mean when you see your students achieving this honor and celebrating in such a meaningful way?
Well, of course, first of all, it's like a dream come true for all of us. And it's actually the 5th time, I think, for our school to participate in this competition. And it's actually over the 7th cloud for us.
Right.
Because we all knew how hard the students have worked for the whole year. And we've seen their progress from almost some of them not knowing how to read music to be able to sing on an international stage and have been recognized as one of the best groups in the category.
Right. So Warren, can you tell us a bit more about this competition? Why is it called the Choir Games?
Well, it was, we started entering these choir games since 2008, and back then it was called the Choir Olympics. So it has got this Olympic spirit where the choir would represent the countries, and we would have a parade of the nations in the beginning, and at the award ceremony, choirs, the winning choirs, would go onto the stage and they would play the national anthem, and everyone would rise and sing. So that's what everyone saw on social media.
Right. So did many choirs from Hong Kong compete in this event?
I think in the past there have been schools, secondary schools, and also community choirs who participated. And in this year's games, there are at least, I think, 4 or 5 schools in the same competition, but different categories.
Right. So Apollo, I mean, you have been teaching and in the music scene for quite some time. Honestly, what was the standard of the Hong Kong choirs when it's sort of presented at the international level?
Well, for some of my friends who come from abroad, who are conductors and composers, they're actually very surprised about how vibrant the choral scene is in Hong Kong. Right. And it actually got a lot more diverse in the past decade, I'd say. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it got a lot more active, and a lot more people are singing. Mm. And this is a very encouraging decade for us.
Right, so standard in Hong Kong is extremely high, in other words.
I think so, yes.
Right. So Warren, I mean, since you are in the sort of music director planning for the students, are there many other international competitions that our Hong Kong choirs can participate at?
There are many, and there's an increasing number of international competitions in Singapore, Japan, where else? In Europe, our other choir, our treble choir, just recently participated in a competition festival in Italy at the end of August. So we had a very busy summer. So there are no shortage of international competitions, and I think different schools are going to different destinations. But the World Choir Games is still one of the biggest in terms of numbers.
But I would say most of the Hong Kong choirs perform very well, and then getting a lot of worldwide acclaims. Am I correct to say that?
Yes, definitely. When we go out, we are proud of Hong Kong. It's not just confined to our own school and our choirs. Every time we see a Hong Kong choir, we're proud of them.
Sure. So Apollo, I mean, you just mentioned that it has been quite a journey from rehearsing until winning the competition. What would you say will be one of the common challenges the students face during this preparation for this international event?
Well, international event or not, for example, for concerts or even local competitions in Hong Kong, the main challenge would be their time management for schoolwork and their extracurricular activities and demanding music from the choir. And it's actually quite difficult to learn. Especially the music for international competition.
Right.
How to sing well, and they have to understand what's behind the piece, and they have to understand the text or even the subtext. So there are lots of work behind it.
So Paul, we all been students before, we all sang in choirs before, and you know, very often, if for children or younger age students, sometimes their parents really have to push them. Do you find that at the current day students, do they have their own initiative do you have to force them to practice, in other words?
Well, I don't take it as forcing them, but we really have to make an effort to encourage them very, very hard sometimes, especially during exam periods or right before exam periods. We have to really have them work very hard in school or encourage them to work outside school and to balance their academics as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Warren, just now you mentioned that there are no shortage of international competition for the choirs in Hong Kong to participate and to learn. I'm sure you need a lot of resources. I can just imagine when you have a choir traveling like 30, 40, even 60, 70 people, there's a lot of cost involved in logistics sort of have to be going through. Will this be exclusively mainly for the more privileged schools?
Unfortunately, I think the reality is that, yes, it does cost money to go on these tours. But luckily, in Hong Kong, there are competitions and also festivals that are equally worthwhile. They bring in overseas guests and experts to work with them, and one of which, an up-and-coming, it's the Hong Kong Inter-School Choral Festivals, right, where over 250 schools and their choirs participated. And it's in their 8th year running this year, and that's almost like half of the number of schools in Hong Kong that have a choir, and they're singing and they're getting feedback and opportunity to perform.
Right, so definitely personally you have a strong favoritism of our choirs participating in all these international events, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the government has been trying to instill a stronger sense of belonging and what we call a national identity amongst our youth. Do you think these sort of competitions may help with it in a soft way? I mean, how do you feel about that?
I think any opportunity to go out and represent Hong Kong and the country, China, would do that, would serve that effect. We don't need to actually tell our choirs that you have to sing the national anthem. It just happens very naturally.
That's very natural, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just like we watch Olympics together in shopping malls.
Exactly.
And they would just cheer. It's the atmosphere, and sometimes not just going to mainland, but also just going overseas. You see that other countries also root for their own countrymen and countrywomen. So it's a very natural thing to do.
Right. Apollo, you have worked with various choirs and musical ensembles. I mean, I've listened to you many times. And how do you see choral music contributing to the development of young people, not only musically, but personally? How do you feel that?
Well, for me, anybody can sing. But for younger people, other than just speaking the emotions, I think singing is what we call the heightened speech.
Right.
And it helps all, in fact, not just youth, not just youth, but everybody, to express their emotions a lot better through singing. So anything that goes through singing, it's actually better.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Let's take a short break now, and viewers, stay tuned. We will be right back. Thank you for staying with us. Mr. Warren Lee, the Music and Creative Arts Director, and Mr. Apollo Wong, the conductor of the Senior Mixed Voice Choir, both from SPCC, are with us this evening and has been sharing with us how music education can shape youth development in Hong Kong. So in the first half, I mean, we have heard a lot of good things about choral music and how it sort of attributes to a personal development. So Warren, as an educator and leader of a very famous high school, do you believe music education can shape our students in terms of their personal growth and development, and how, to what extent does it help?
Well, absolutely, it helps, and it's the very reason why we focus so much on music in education. I actually call it music in education rather than just music education. It was actually one of former principals who said that, you know, if someone is good in music or interested in music, he or she can't be that bad or, you know, behavioral and whatnot, academics.
And I'm sure you're referring to our late Mrs. Bobby Cookwall, isn't
it?
Yes.
Yes. And for sure, there are many transferable skills that actually Apollo already mentioned. Time management, discipline, perseverance, resilience, everything. It comes from being in a team, you know, working towards the same goal. And this is exactly what we like to do at St. Paul's. One of the classic examples I would quote, when I first became music director years ago, and I received a call from an alumni looking for a clarinet teacher post-retirement. And that happened to be the former Chief Justice, Andrew Lee. Mm-hmm. So he was still the Chief Justice, and he called the school general line and just asked for the music director and asked for a recommendation. Wow. He said he learned the clarinet when he was a high school student, but just didn't have time to play. But the first thing he wanted to do after retirement was to play music. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the sort of classic example of how we want our students right now at St. Paul. They might become doctors, lawyers, and whatnot. As long as they enjoy playing music and let music have a role to play in their lives, I think we would consider our jobs, you know, well done.
Right. So, Apollo, I mean, you're also one of St. Paul's graduate, and can you share some examples to the viewers that you have personally witnessed over the years that have been someone, I mean, they may not be the best musician, but they love music, and you see then the career or the education being, I would say, complemented by the music itself. Have you seen many examples?
Yes, actually, some of my previous students who are actually in their own fields, and for example, some of them are doctors. They really have to listen to music and even sing, even when they're doing surgery.
Really?
Yes, mm-hmm. Inside the hospital in the
theatre.
Yeah, and after the working hours, they can't stop singing. They just keep coming to some of my choirs, mm-hmm. and like you said, some of our old schoolmates, they will go to our alumni choir mm-hmm. in school, and they just cannot stop singing in choirs. Mm-hmm. And singing, like I said before, in the first part, that singing makes any verbal communication better, mm-hmm. and singing together as a choir, as a team, is even better.
Right.
Yeah.
So Warren, you are now the music director for a very established school, and I'm sure your job is to put this music in education to the students. However, there are millions of subjects. They all have their own emphasis as well. How do you integrate this into the broader school curriculum? Because everyone think they're important to their career, to the students. How will you go about that?
Well, I have the privilege of having tradition on my side. So music has been an important part since Coldwell's time, and it's always been given, I wouldn't say priority, but a lot of respect at school from management and also from the council. They're all music loving and alumni are music loving, so it helps me dearly. But yes, we still have to compete for students' time. I think that's our biggest constraint, is their time. And we just work with, actually, sports is equally important for the students' well-being. So we also are understanding of the students' needs. And that may change from time to time. Post-COVID, it's a different world than pre-COVID. And we have to adapt, and that's part of the musician's job, I guess.
Right. I think many of the viewers, including myself, have been educated for sort of many years ago. And at our times, our parents always say that, don't get distracted. I mean, it's just games, making sure you'll be able to find a job when you graduate. Are the current parents still of that attitude, or have they changed?
I think our parents, well, at least the parents we deal with, they are very open-minded. They do want a diverse experience for our students. Every now and then we will have a student who would quit and try to withdraw from the choir because of academic reasons. And we try to talk to them that, this is a kind of experience like going to Auckland. That's the kind of experience you would never get from a tutorial center. You never get from books. Some of them understand and some of them have their own priorities. But mostly, I would say, parents are understanding.
Apollo, your different path to Warren. I mean, you're now become a sort of a course master, and also looking at the challenges you face with students. How earlier you said you have to maintain the interest, or encourage them to prepare for the international competition. Sort of, what type of challenges, and how do you actually overcome all these challenges? I mean, they're all youngsters. They want to. Dating, they may be doing the games on the phones. How do you maintain the interest and focus in preparing for music and maintain interest?
Well, first of all, we always have to encourage them to stay interested in music, and it's always a challenge to sustain their interest in music, and because learning music, it's something requires a lot of perseverance, and they do occasionally detour. Can we say detour from the learning of the music? The most important thing is that we have to always ensure them that they do have the ability and they can actually sing well, and they have to always recognize their own progress and improvements, and they are encouraged to continue doing this, the training and all that musical learning and language learning and the dramatic learning behind the music.
Do you have to do a lot of individual coaching to them to sort of making sure they stay focused at least for a certain time?
Yeah, occasionally, yes, we have to have, I will give them voice lessons, or sometimes diction lessons, or language lessons occasionally at school. So all these combined together, when they after they have learned all these individually, and they put together, and they can feel that it comes out as a great musical experience, and they will keep doing it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So Warren, how do you encourage them to see music as not just an extracurricular activity, where we used to be at our times?
Well, first of all, sometimes we call it co-curricular. And students who are involved in music, they already know that it's not I'm not looking down on swimming, but for swimming, you just go there once a week and that's it, right? You just go for a hobby. But music, it really takes a lot of your own individual preparation time, be it in choir or orchestra. And luckily in our school, the students we come across, they really love music, and they see it as more than just a ECA. In terms of your parents are equally understanding. They come all the way to Auckland, and I said that to the parents, is I know even if we go down to South Pole, you'll come. So they are really supportive, and we're grateful for that.
Right. So both of you are leaders in the music community in Hong Kong. And what changes or innovations would you like to see in the music education landscape to better support our youth development? You know, our National 14 Five-Year Plan has made Hong Kong a sort of a arts and culture place. Does all this help? And how would you want to see that happening, Apollo?
Well, I'd love to see more younger youth people in the audience of all the performances. No matter symphonies or museums or ballet, everything. Younger audience is what we need. And more performance venues, I'd say.
Do we have enough performance venues, Warren?
It's never enough.
Never enough.
I'm sure all the arts and music companies out there are looking for more, especially I think the smaller concert hall for just purely for classical music. But I know we are getting there with West Kowloon. I would also say, performing venues aside, and also, of course, more audience, because there are a lot of students learning a musical instrument or singing in choir, but that doesn't necessarily translate into audience and going to concerts and having a culture. And part of the reason, I think, it's we are very competition and examination oriented and driven. But music is a performing art. It's not a competing art. It's not a sporting event. And that's what we like to do, and spread this message to our parents too.
Right, I'm afraid we have to leave it there for now. And thank you, Warren and Apollo. It is indeed inspiring to see how music education can shape character, fosters teamwork, and provide our youth with the invaluable life skills. As Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, said, music has a power of forming the character. Thank you for joining us, and have a good evening.